What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions. And hello everyone, welcome once again. My name is Logan and this is Decode Your Reality. Today I'm doing one on an episode of the Simpsons on Fox. Of course, Fox equals 666, but Simpsons had an episode, I'm not sure which one it was, maybe you know the knowledge on that, but they predicted the death of the Pope. And there's the chalk line, so I'm going to be decoding that, and I have a lot of interesting information, folks. This one is, man, wait till you see the tie-in with this one, the ties in, man, it's crazy. So this is where I first originally got this idea from, this fine gentleman on YouTube. You may want to check out his channel, Bru-Ko. He was decoding it. He said he needed a little bit of help because here's one scene when the cash register clerk is scanning all these items and this magazine gets scanned, and then these numbers. He had a hard time figuring out these numbers, so I wanted to decode that, and here I am. So this is what we're going to be decoding. Is the Pope in line to perish? Will he be murdered? Will he just die from perhaps the coronavirus? I mean, they did shut down Italy. I mean, what's in store? The Simpsons are notorious for predicting the future. So nonetheless, here we go, folks. The Pope's dead. This is the scene of the newscaster talking about this, and the Pope's dead. So it all starts out with Marge. This is one of the scenes. She goes to the mailbox and, of course, goes to number 502 with the cross on it. There's the crucifixion, of course, notifying or telling us some symbology there. And then, of course, she pulls out this letter, and here's the person it's addressed to with the Springfield, USA. And notice the number 95 with this, because it's inside that square. I want to decode that. We can decode this as well. I didn't want to get too crazy. I have a lot of information to cover, so maybe you want to decode that. But nonetheless, 95 was the standout on this name and Springfield, USA. Now, keep that in mind. That's important. She pulls out this photograph of the Pope with these things written on it. Infallibly yours, the Pope. So we want to decode that as well. When I did decode that, I got the number 89. And of course, 89 is a massive number in numerology and the world of numbers, because when you go to numberempire.com, it's a great website to find all these pieces of information out. 89 is what's considered a prime Fibonacci number. If you don't know what a prime number is, I'd suggest just brushing up on your math a little bit. It just means it's a number that can't be devised into it. It's a standalone number, meaning it holds a lot of power. And of course, Fibonacci number, that's just the numbers that duplicate in our existence. Very important, but when you get a number that has both of those, it's called a prime Fibonacci number, which means it holds great power. And of course, you know, the Gnostic demiurge, which could be the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, Yaldabaoth, the Gnostics believe it's the demiurge of this matrix reality. That equals the number 89. So we have some ties in here, folks. And let's keep going on this. The actual magazine with the Pope that they're cashing out, this is another scene. Someone's buying some groceries. Here's the cashier ready to scan the magazine. It's called Devout People Magazine. That too has a numerology output of 95, matching that of the letter that it's addressed to with the Infallibly Yours, the Pope, which is linked to Yaldabaoth. So keep those numbers in mind, especially the number 95. Now I wanted to show you this slide here because this has what I believe to be great importance. Whether or not you believe in this character is irrelevant, because there are millions upon billions of people that do believe in this character, making it real. Whether or not you partake in that is irrelevant. Notice that, you know, in numerology, and this is the methodology, if you're just new to this, folks, all I'm doing is I'm using numerology which is taking the spoken word, breaking it down into numbers, and then using alchemy. So we take the elements of the periodic table and we match up those with the numbering output we get for each word. Satan is a total of 14. When you add up 3 plus 1 plus 4 plus 1 plus 5, you get 14. But individually, it's 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, and then we match those up with the elements of the periodic table, and we get into what's called alchemy. So we now have multiple layers that we can observe the word Satan from. Now, I'm going somewhere with this, so stick with me. When you add up the atomic weights of these elements that make up the word Satan, going over to the trusty calculator and adding them up, we get 29053. And 29 is a big standout because that links to the word Yaldabaoth again in the Chaldean cipher. These are different numerology ciphers, folks. That's what that means. So although Yaldabaoth is 29 here, Yaldabaoth also equals 89 in this one. Don't get confused. Keep it simple. Follow along. Follow the breadcrumbs, as I say. So we have the number 29053, which is linked to the word Satan, and that has an outcome of 95. When you say 29053, which is right here, it ends up adding up to the number 95. Now, I'm going somewhere with this. This is really important. The element Americium is the 95th element, and the interesting part about this one, folks, other than it being matched up with the word Satan, the main source of this element is by bombarding neutrons into plutonium. Plutonium is the 94th element, but they're taking neutrons and they're smashing them into plutonium, which makes this element 95 Americium. So where does the 95 and Satan come into play? We're going to get into that, folks. Remember the word plutonium and the number 95 linking to the word Satan, and we're linking to the word Yaldabaoth. What does this have to do with the Pope's death? Let's keep going and showing you. Before this cashier scans this magazine, the total is $230.83. Notice on the magazine it's May and it's $5. The month of May issue and it's $5. That has significance. Could this be the date that the Pope Francis of the Vatican finally ends up leaving his physical body and ascending or descending, depending on what you believe? Nonetheless, it's $230.83 before the scanning of this magazine. Once he scans it, it's $240.78. Also notice the number 5 on the cashier here in the background. They wanted you to see that, and that's for great reason. So we have a difference of $230.83 and $240.78 of $9.95. That's what this magazine would cost, and that's representing the death of the Pope. And of course, I just showed the 95, linking it to Satan, linking it to the letter that Marge got, infallibly yours, the Pope. And it's really interesting because the number 9 is the separation with the decimal digit here. If 95 is representing Yaldabaoth and Satan, and the number 9 is the number of endings and completions, because before 9 you have 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So 9 is the last number before moving into the digits of 10. So it's a great number of endings and completions. And if we read this that way, endings and completions of the number 95. That's how I see that. And of course, why did they choose that price tag on that magazine? Right? I mean, you're seeing the 95. So there's more to this. Let's keep going. Here are the 3 points that I want to go over with you on this very important slide. Number 1, the number 5 at the cash register. Number 2, the scanning bar and the shape of that. And of course, number 3, the total of what this reads after they scan the magazine. Okay, so those are the 3 points. So here's the first one, folks, the number 5. The element boron, notice its atomic weight, its most abundant atomic weight. Some of these elements have multiple weights. This is the most abundant weight that boron has. What do you see right there? I see 119 or 911. Folks, that's why if you'll start to notice in this matrix reality, you're going to see a hell of a lot of 5s that stand out on TV and in movies. That's because of the 911 or the 119. And of course, these numbers can be broken down as well. And that's why this element is so significant and why they use this number 5 here. Notice that boron through numerology equals the number 23, just like the word crown equals the number 23. So, who runs the Simpsons? I'll let that stew a little bit. You can be the judge of that. But nonetheless, let's keep going, because there's some ties in here. Let's move on to number 2, the second piece I wanted to address. This barcode is in a very specific shape. I'm sure you would agree. I've placed the British flag on here because that's exactly the shape that barcode is in. Notice the line down the middle and then the X. And that's exactly what the British flag has. The line down the middle and then the X. Okay? There you go. And of course, what's interesting about that is the crown is located in the city of London. Then you have your cross there. That has significance as well. What is it that you see? But do you see these ties in, folks? 5 leads to boron, which leads to crown, which leads to perhaps the scanning shape on this cash register. Let's move on to number 3. And again, I want to say, crown, Vatican, Italy is tied to London. They're all in bed together, folks. Number 3 is the total amount on the register after the scanning of the magazine. And this is where the kicker was, folks. Then you bring in the elements of the periodic table. The element that has the 240 is plutonium. And remember, I showed you that Satan, it ends up leading to the 95th element, which is bombarding plutonium with neutrons, making it 95. So 240 is linked directly to the element plutonium and bromine. Bromine has one atomic weight of 78. So we have 94 and 35. I'm going somewhere with this, folks. Stick with me. It gets even more interesting. Plutonium, of course, is related to the planet Pluto, which is the god of the underworld. In Greek mythology, its name was Hades. In the Vedic system, it is Lord Shiva, the destroyer, which, of course, is on the Royal Society of Chemistry. If you go look at this element, that's exactly the picture they have. They have Shiva as the icon for plutonium. But nonetheless, what's really interesting, and when you follow the breadcrumbs, the word Pope equals 28, matching that of Pluto. And then, of course, Lucifer, the supposed fallen angel, which could be tied to Satan, equals the number 28. So you see the direct tie-ins right here, folks, all linked to the element plutonium and that $240 price tag after that magazine was rung up. Let's go a little bit further. When you add up these two elements, because this was plutonium and bromine, so we want to add these two up using alchemy, going over to the trusty calculator, we get the number 318972. This 318, I could have shown more things. If you type in 318 esoteric in your Google search, you'll find some things on that. This is related to the sun god Helios. I didn't even want to get into that, but there is some significance to that. What's interesting is when we say 318972, we get the number 113. So it starts off with 240.78. It leads to plutonium and bromine, which ends up through math and alchemy, gives us 113 through 318972. So follow the breadcrumbs, folks. This methodology works. So now we have in question, what does this 113 mean and the Pope's death? Well, 113 is tied to the element cadmium. And if you go look at the element cadmium on the Royal Society of Chemistry, which is right here, you know, the symbol they use, this is the element for earth. This means earth, okay? And we're going to get into this. This is derived from the Latin word, which is Rome, Italian, cadmia. And we're going to get into that because cadmium is number 48. And of course, cadmium equals the number 23, which matches that of the word crown, which matches that of boron, which I didn't even put in here, which was the number on the cash register. Again, the word cadmium is derived from the Latin word cadmia, so we can decode that. The word cadmia equals 14, just like the word Satan. And I showed this in the beginning of this presentation, Satan leading to the 95, which is the Americium, the 95th element, bombarding into plutonium. Plutonium means the god of the underworld, death. And that's what we're talking about here, folks. Perhaps the Simpsons predicting the death of the Pope. There's more to it than meets the eye when you look at these numbers. And again, folks, you got to ask yourself, who is picking these numbers and why? And are they doing it using this methodology? Or are they just arbitrarily picking these numbers? I have to leave that up to you as the observer. Folks, if you have to ask me, Lake Logan, what do you think? There is no way man is doing this alone. Impossible. So now you can look at it any other way you want. What's interesting about this as well, folks, is, this is the average atomic weight of cadmium. Then we go down to the oxidation states and isotopes, and this shows you all the isotopes or weights of cadmium. What is the most interesting part is the atomic weight of cadmium that has the 113, which is measured through what we got from this 240-78 through plutonium and bromine. Look at the natural abundance of that, folks. It's 28.73%, 28%. And folks, I showed that earlier here in this previous slide. Pluto, Pope, and Lucifer all equal the number 28. So you can see the definitive strong tie-ins here, folks, that are really just you can't ignore them, They're really unavoidable to see here when these numbers stand out, and we're talking about cadmium. It's really interesting, folks. So here he is, and I'm going to finish this up with changing a little bit of this presentation and moving in a little bit of a different direction. You're going to like this, I promise you. This is the Pope's full name. And this, again, this perhaps is the reason why this death of the Pope is predicted, folks, because of look at the times that we're in right now. Absolute chaos in the United States and the world for that matter. But if you're in the United States, God, go step foot in front of a grocery store and see what's going on right now. Nonetheless, this is this guy's name. He was born on December 17th, 1936. He's 83 years old right now. And I wanted to show you this one. Stick with me, folks. This one is perhaps one of the most important slides I've ever shown. Right here, well, actually, let me start. Here is the current Pope in numerology. He equals the number 66. That matches with the Vice President of the United States, Michael Richard Pence. His name equals 66. And then, of course, your lovely President, Donald John Trump, his name equals the number 66. What are the odds, folks, of these three major influences in the world having a numerology of the number 66? But there's more. Right here is the first names of Donald, his 3 wives, and 5 children. They equal the number 159. Folks, in numerology, your first name is the most important because nobody really calls you by your birth name on your birth certificate. It's embedded in nature and you can measure that, but everybody calls you by your first name. So here is the first names of each of the Trump family, including his 3 ex-wives and his current wife, Melania. Those equal the number 159. The element dysprosium, the 66th element, has an atomic weight of 159. Look at the tie-in, folks, here. 66, and then this guy's full family equals the number 159, tying that to the element dysprosium. But wait, there's more. Dysprosium has a numerology outcome of 39. And in the Bible, the 66th book of the Bible is Revelation, which the reason why I have this character blowing a trumpet here is because the trumpets are being blown. The trumpets are being blown. The 66th book of the Bible. And then, of course, Revelation is 39, matching that of dysprosium, which is tied to the element yttrium. Notice the letter Y. If you've watched my video on the coronavirus or on my other videos, folks, that is the Yod-Heh Vah-Heh, the 88 miles an hour that Marty McFly had to get the DeLorean and Back to the Future. 88 equals Chronos, a.k.a. Saturn. Folks, these are all tie-ins here, major tie-ins. But folks, look at these. I mean, this is ridiculous. And that's why I wanted to show it. The trumpets, the trumpets. I'm breaking down that very aspect. I'm not showing it today, but I'm breaking it down. I have more to come, so stay tuned. Please subscribe to my channel because I have more coming out. This is the actual day that if the Pope is to leave this place, if it really is true, folks, this would be my prediction. And I'm not one to make predictions, but I'm going simply on numbers. And then, of course, remember the magazine that I showed you had a May and then $5. So I look at that as May 5th. And it would be, these numbers are significant. 1,000 months exactly in 18 days. This right here has significance as well. This day would be an Ace of Spades day. I didn't even get into that, but there's great significance to that as well. I mean, I could have shown so much more, but I wanted to leave you guys off and gals off with this one right here and why I chose May 5th. May 5th, we're in a leap year, by the way. May 5th is the 126th day of the year. The element that has that atomic weight of 126 is the 53rd element, which is iodine. And in the Bible, Moses, when he went to the burning bush up on Mount Sinai, he asked the burning bush, "What should I tell the people who you are? What's your name?" And of course, that divine name came out as I am that I am. And notice the number 95, which is linked to the element. I'm linked to the name Satan. It's linked to the name Yaldabaoth. And of course, it's heavily linked to this decoding of the Pope's death predicted in this Simpsons episode. So folks, what is it that you saw during this presentation? Again, I'm not saying this is true. I'm simply giving you something to observe from and to perhaps go a little bit deeper with your own knowledge. Maybe you meditate. That's the best way to get downloads. Maybe there's something that you saw that I didn't see or I didn't present. I mean, what are the odds, folks? And that's why I could have picked any day. I chose May 5th because it was on the magazine, folks. And then, of course, it's with this right here. I am. I mean, this wasn't related to this because what does 126 have to do with it? But in the Bible, I am has everything to do with it. This is spelling out the I am, folks. And if you add these up, there's significance to those as well, and I've done that in other videos. But what is it that you saw? This one to me, and I opened a can of worms. Wait till you see the decoding of this, folks. The decoding of Back to the Future. It has everything to do with this man right here. It's absolutely insane, the connections I'm going to show with the decoding of that. So that's all I got for today, folks. What is it you saw during this presentation? I mean, is it fitting? Pluto and the crown and the number 5 and boron and these things linking up to the crown. What is this Simpsons episode trying to tell us? There's the 95, folks. What is this trying to tell us? Is it that character right there? So anyway, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan. And this is Decode Your Reality. Thank you for watching.